Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. Welcome to Building Presentations with AI. Love to understand from you, where are you getting stuck at the moment in this process? Write your answers in the chat. If it's AI isn't following the template for you, right? A, if the content is bad or inaccurate. B, if it's taking too long to get right. C, or D, if the slides end up looking generic. I'm seeing some A's. Chris, A, B, C, and D. All of the above. Okay, super. Okay, the good news is we should touch on all of these today and hopefully solve as many as we can for you. Big thanks to our sponsor, Oh Hello. If you don't know them, that is a fantastic mentorship program. If you are interested in having a mentor, please go along and sign up. Or if you'd like to give back to the community as well, they're always looking for new mentors. So please check them out. And thank you very much for sponsoring us. For those of you that don't know us, my name is Daph. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at wordPower. This photo was taken, I think, just before I had a haircut and a shave, looking slightly different now. I'm also joined by Tom. Tom, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey there, everyone. My name is Tom Reardon. Super excited to jam with you for the next 30 minutes. I founded wordPower about 3 years ago. I have a background in marketing and technology. I was most recently at Adobe, and when I left Adobe, this little tool called ChatGPT got released, and it seemed very clear to me that the nature of marketing work, technology work, knowledge work in general was changing. I founded wordPower, and we've been helping businesses go from 0 to 1 on their AI journey ever since.
Super, thank you. And that's us. But you guys are definitely involved as well. Please get involved on the microphone, in the chat. You can use emojis. You can use the hand raise feature. It's definitely best to make this a kind of interactive session. It will be more fun that way. And definitely get hands-on. So we'll be doing some prompting and activity in a bit. So get your favorite AI tool ready to get involved as well. But Tom, what is the power up? Why are we here?
Yeah, what are we doing here? What is this free 30-minute session that we're doing? So, like I mentioned, we've been in business at wordPower for about 3 years, and our primary mission at wordPower has been to help businesses go from 0 to 1 on their AI journey. And during that, live workshops, training, consulting, we get tons of DMs and texts and individual outreach from folks looking for help because maybe their business isn't doing an AI training program. Maybe they're not kind of getting supported that way. So we wanted to create the Power Up as a way to just help more people. Really low point of entry, inclusive, all skill levels are invited. So we'll be doing this every month. If you get value out of today's session, definitely plan to join us next month, share with a friend, kind of the more the merrier. So we're really just here to help today.
Yeah, definitely. And why are we doing building presentations? Well, in our client meetings and trainings, this is the type of question we're getting all the time. People are super interested in it right now. It feels like AI is getting close. And we've been, we feel like we've cracked the formula a little bit. We've building decks with AI day in, day out, and we're really pleased with them. So we want to share a bit of that information and knowledge with you. So we're hopeful by the end of this session, you'll be able to leave being able to build a presentation in a branded deck with AI, no problem. And what is that magic formula that I talk about? Well, we think there are 4 key ingredients for success. First, you need to be tackling the right part of the process and being very mindful of how you're dealing with that. Secondly, choosing the right tool. Thirdly, prompting well. And fourthly, using a good, solid prompt template that AI can use and handle. So we'll go through these one by one. Tom, talk us through the process.
Yeah, sure. So we're big believers at wordPower that a lot of folks' first experiences with AI are not ideal because they potentially chose the wrong point of entry for a given task. So we always recommend before you start doing something, you break out a problem into the key steps related to solving that problem. So for PowerPoint presentations or presentations in general, we see 3 key steps. The first one is research or exploration. Usually here you're sifting through key pieces of information, like maybe doing some web research. Maybe you have documents or data from your business. And most critically, you have your own opinions and your unique perspectives, because we constantly talk about not following AI off a cliff, not just doing what it tells you to do, right? You are in control. You want your fingerprints all over your work. So a lot of times that's kind of one process. Maybe it's web research, maybe it's pulling up documents. In a previous life, I did that manually. AI tools are really good at doing research and pulling together storylines across a bunch of documents and concepts. Second piece, narrative and outline. So now you have a general idea of some of the themes, some of the pieces of information you want to include, but you got to crystallize that into a story. And if you want a really good presentation, you probably have some sort of story arc involved in that. Maybe you set up a little excitement, anticipation, things like that. AI can be a great thought partner for that as well. And usually at the end of this second phase, you might have something that starts to look like an outline. And we really encourage people to get really close to the final product at this phase. So when we do our exercise in a minute, we're going to show you an outline that we've already created that includes things like titles of slides, suggested content to include on the slides, and really the meat at this point. Now, the final step, once you've nailed thinking about what you want to say, is actually putting pen to paper and actually starting to see your creation come to life. And this is actually where we get the most inbound. This is kind of the hard part for many folks, is taking these ideas and getting them into a presentation. You a lot of times hear about folks who are like wizards at PowerPoint or are super good at this. At wordpower, we have just been absolutely amazed in really the last 6 months how effective AI tools have gotten at taking these ideas and these concepts and putting them into our templates, or our customers' templates, or our partners' templates. So for today, we're really going to zoom in on this third phase as our point of entry for the task.
And I think that's definitely a key lesson that we learned along the way. We would often try and jump too quickly to phase 3, get building that PowerPoint, riffing on the content with AI as it's building the content. Definitely it's best to finalize the content and the outline at least before you jump into the slide stage. Okay, the second piece that is critical is the tool. Tom, can you talk us through some of the recommended AI chat platforms that are good for this task?
Yeah, so there's you can really use any AI chat platform to do lots of useful things for your presentation. So if you showed up with something that's not on this list, or one of the tools on this list but not 2 of them, you'll still get some value out of today, and you still can do a lot of damage in terms of how you build PowerPoint. But there actually is, right now, this is one capability where there's not really parity across platforms. There's actually pretty good differences between Claude versus ChatGPT versus Google Gemini. And I mentioned earlier how these first 2 phases, research and exploration, and the narrative and outline phase, where you're really thinking through your ideas, doing research, there's lots of good AI tools for that. In fact, we'd say basically any AI tool, Claude, Manus, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Grok, Perplexity, nearly any of these can sift through a bunch of information, do web research, and start to put together a narrative and an outline. But when you actually want to bring those ideas to life in your presentation, like I said, there's not exactly each platform has their own strengths and weaknesses. So let's zoom in on that phase. There's 3 pieces when you're actually building your presentation. The first is drafting and just getting ideas from text into slides. The second is creating icons and images that you might want to use in your slides. And then the third is adjusting your slide layouts accordingly to create new templates or new visuals that you didn't have in the first place. This first step of just getting your ideas from text into your template in a way that looks good is such a tremendous time saver, and it's actually kind of difficult, but that's the one we're going to zoom in on today. Our favorite platforms for that are Claude and Manus. Manus has a free tier, I think we mentioned. Claude also has a free tier. You're going to run into your limits a little bit if you use that free tier, so we're going to recommend you use a paid account if you can. ChatGPT is okay at this, so if you're using ChatGPT, you might see some success. Google Gemini, not really the best at creating new slides.
And so, Tom, ChatGPT, you've got as inconsistent. What are you seeing? What's happening?
So the task that we're going to do here is analyze a template and decide where our text is going to fit in that template, and decide, we want to use template slide 3 versus template slide 5. There's a lot of reasoning involved in that. And so you typically want models like Claude and Manus are really best at those kind of long horizon tasks. But ChatGPT will often succeed at kind of a quick and dirty version, right? Where it's not thinking that hard about where the content goes, just populating your template. It also might make mistakes like use the wrong fonts or make a mistake on colors. So you likely will get a good enough and potentially useful reply, but if you want the complete reply, you're going to want Claude and Manus for this task.
And How about, what are your thoughts on, specialist SaaS platforms for this task, like Beautiful and Gamma and tools like that?
Yeah, so we're talking about AI chat tools, the blinking bar right now, right? Where you can do all sorts of things. And at wordpower, we like to do most of our trainings in these tools because you're going to learn a lot about how AI works. And if you want to become on a path to becoming an AI power user, these are the tools to get it done. But there are lots of software platforms that are squarely focused on this task of making PowerPoints using AI, making that process more efficient. Gamma, Beautiful, there's kind of a handful. We find that they're okay. And some folks have success with them. The pitch is that it should scale a little better across an organization. Like you could have hundreds of people using the same templates and the same prompts and the same approaches. But we just find that the tools that we've highlighted here seem to just be better and are more versatile as well. So if you're sort of choosing a path to master because you want to be better at AI, we're going to recommend the AI chat platforms more than the software tools right now.
Cool, makes sense. Yeah, Mike's commenting, it's surprising Gemini isn't better. Have they got Google Slides in their Google Suite?
Yeah, it's a good question. And Gemini has some tools here, like there's a Gemini integration into Google Slides where you can pull up Gemini in a Google slide and ask it to change things on the slide. But for this task of taking an outline and building a complete deck and using the templates tastefully, just haven't seen much success in Gemini doing that.
Oh, any questions about the tools before we move on? No, super. Let's talk about the next two ingredients for success, the prompt and the template. And to do that, we're going to have a little scenario and get stuck in ourselves. So let's imagine we work at Netflix Games, the gaming division of Netflix, and we're pitching to EA Sports to bring their formerly known as FIFA title, EA Sports FC, onto the Netflix platform. So I'm going to provide you with two links. One is for a template deck, the Netflix template deck, and the second one is for a prompt. So I would love it if you could pull up your AI chat platform of choice, paste it, copy and paste the prompt, and upload the template deck that we've just sent you. Let me know if you have any problems doing that. And while we do that, let's talk a little bit about the template.
Great. So Daph gave you two links. One of them is to the prompt. The prompt contains instructions for what the AI should do. It also contains an outline of the exact content that we want built into the template. So it's kind of one of your key pieces. He also included a link to this template deck that we're looking at here. And all templates are not created equal. We have found in our testing that some templates tend to perform better than others. So a few of the things that we wanted to highlight. First off, PowerPoint files rather than like Google Slides file tend to work better. You give that directly to your AI. You can work with it like a real file. Google Slides kind of aren't the same as traditional files. Secondarily, use a deck that actually has something in it. So many templates are blank deliberately because you want the user to fill things in. But by providing a populated template that at least has some lorem ipsum language or potentially has language that you've actually used in a previous presentation, you're giving the AI examples of how you talk, of how you include information, and you're sort of giving it just a more rich training document that it can use to populate. And lastly, we suggest starting with your existing layouts and trying to make use of them. That's typically what folks want to do with their templates anyways, but you can totally create custom ones later. A lot of times we'll do that as a separate step where we'll zoom in on an individual slide and ask for modifications or ask for edits, typically after we've done our first draft. So you can kind of play with that as much as you want the AI to get creative versus follow your template faithfully.
I think that first point has been a real change for me. I've spent decades in Google Slides, so going back to PowerPoint was a little bit painful, but you can still use Google Slides and download it and then upload the file is a good workaround, and it's worth it for the improvement in power of the AI. Super. And then Tom, can you talk us through the prompt?
Yeah, let's do it. And to do that, I'm going to get right into my AI tool and drop the prompt right in there. So I'd encourage you all to do the same. If you haven't yet, pull up your Claude or your ChatGPT or Manus or whatever you're using on your end. And I'm going to jump into Claude Cowork. And if you're not using Cowork, it's okay, but let it be known that for creating PowerPoint presentations, it is simply the best. It is quite effective. So this is something that you do regularly and you're a Claude user. Really recommend getting the desktop app where you can access Cowork. You just tab over here at the top. It's included with the $20 a month Claude plan, so hopefully not too expensive for folks. For today's purpose, you can think of Cowork just like regular Claude. I'm not going to interact with it very differently, but because it's powerful, because it's more powerful than regular chat, it's able to just contemplate this ask and kind of do it better. And that's going to be true based on any platform that you're using. So if you're using ChatGPT, flip it on a pro mode. If you don't have pro mode, flip it onto thinking mode. If you're using regular Claude, have it on Opus instead of Sonnet. For PowerPoint, anytime you're really dealing with a file, you want to give it the best model that you can. So here I have the prompt. I'll explain that more in a minute. And now I'm going to click my plus button and add that file that Daph just shared. Here's that Netflix template deck. And I'm going to fire this off, and then I'll explain the prompt in a little more detail. So here's the prompt that we dropped in. And again, would encourage you all to hit go on your end. This kind of takes a minute so we can kind of work through it together. The prompt we dropped in is broken into specific sections. Daph labeled it very clearly for you all so we can see what's going on. So we start with our context. Say we work at Netflix, games, we're pitching to EA Sports, and we give a specific ask. We want you to build a PowerPoint presentation using the text below as your content and the attached template as your output format. We then give it some guidance on the format. So go ahead and modify the content to account for differences between the template and your outline if you need to. That's a key step. The exact text that you put down in your outline might just not fit into the template that you provided in a perfect way. Good AI tools can take some liberties to adjust that, adjust your content accordingly. I use a traditional business tone of voice. You can play with that all you want. You can tell it to be salesy, be informative, if you want it to change your text anymore. And then one of our best practices is to include exact colors and fonts in your prompt. So here we're saying the main colors are these three, this red, white, and dark gray, or for dark gray and light gray. And we're actually providing the exact hex codes for the colors. If you don't know how to find the hex codes for your deck, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Ask your AI tool. It will help guide you through that process. And the fonts, of course, you can just click into the file in PowerPoint and see what fonts you're using if you'd like. But this is just going to ensure that that output stays faithful in terms of the colors and the fonts. We then tell it to stick to the template perfectly. Only select existing slide templates. This is a deliberate decision because, like we said before, we're doing this first draft phase right now. We might come back later and say, hey, let's riff on this design, or let's try some new designs and kind of try and push the limit. But we recommend keeping it focused to start. Share a plan with me before you start building slides. That one's optional, but we think it's generally, anytime the AI is going to go away and do something that takes 10 or 15 minutes, you ought to review what it's going to do first before you set it off to do that. So that's really our prompt. And then we share our exact text outline. And this is very specific. So it includes what we want on slide 1, what we want on slide 2. We have titles, subtitles, heroes, stats. Of course, we used AI to go from our ideas and to create this really detailed outline. But now that I've done that legwork, now that I believe in all these stats, I have a sense of what I want to say. I can focus squarely on getting the formatting right and getting my presentation looking nice and sweet. So if I scroll down here and see what Claude is doing, it's doing the slide-by-slide build plan. And you'll get similar behavior in Manus. Sometimes I was getting this behavior from ChatGPT. This is a really important step where it's basically taking the content that you've provided and it's looking at the templates. So here it has the content, it has the template here, and it's doing a little matchmaking exercise where it's saying based on what's included in the templates, what might be the best slide available for this particular piece of text that I have. So it goes for the second one about the opportunity, it's a slide 5 is a good fit. For this third one, hey, how about slide 7? For the deal, we grab slide 15. So it's this process of examining your template and matchmaking the content is pretty sophisticated. And again, a reason that these more powerful models tend to do better here. Okay, so does this plan work for you? Does this sound good? I'm going to say, yes, let's do it and kick things off. Encourage you to do the same. Rather than make us all sit here and wait, though, I will preview one that I did earlier.
I think that's been a real change in my workflow as well, Tom, is setting things off and they go away and do it agentically and not sitting there and waiting. I have to find another task to do while it works.
Mm-hmm. It's called a long horizon task, is when the AI does something that takes a while that, like, presumably you wouldn't want to sit there and hold its hand the whole way. And yeah, we are finding it's becoming a lot more common as agentic AI tools become more popular. It's a totally different paradigm shift.
Brett's asking,
way of doing something. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Brett is asking, did you tell it which slide, or did AI help you with that matching?
AI did all of the matchmaking. Yep. And if in this example here that I did earlier, I think it did the same thing. Yep. Said, hey, here's what I propose. So if you wanted to, you could get involved here and pull up your template, look at the slides and say, nah, I don't like that one. So yeah, slide 7 is not the best for point number 3. Let's actually try slide 9 for that. Or doesn't look like we have anything that's good in the template. Can you draft a new slide? Yeah, really recommend zooming in on this process a little bit, going slowly with it.
And Jessica's asking, do you reuse the same prompt over and over, as that looked a fairly meaty prompt?
Yeah, it is meaty, and getting the prompt right is important. And part of the theme you're picking up today is if you want to do good PowerPoints, like you need to spend the time to get the legwork right. You're picking the right tool, you're getting the right template, and then you do have to draft a decent prompt. If you draft a decent prompt, save it. Yeah, because it does take a bit of time. So it's a great point. In this case, my prompt is pretty specific, but like there's parts I could reuse. Maybe there's context about where we work that I could include in the next one. Maybe next time I'm making a presentation, I want to use these same colors and fonts so I can save this little chunk. So yeah, very, very much so portions of this are going to be reusable, and you're going to want to save them, share them with teammates, all that sort of stuff.
Cool. There's a couple of questions about Claude and Cowork in the chat. Matt is asking, are you suggesting Cowork allows AI to do these longer tasks without stopping a lot, as Claude inside PowerPoint is asking before it makes any change?
I don't have a direct head-to-head with Claude and PowerPoint. We did have someone from the team test Claude and PowerPoint during this, and they had a great experience and produced a 10 out of 10 result. I'm not sure if you'd be checking in more or less specifically on that, but generally speaking, yeah, the idea here is you kick it off, you walk away, you come back, and something's been completed. Very different than, again, like the Gemini slides integration, which is about you telling it to do something, watching the change, telling it to do something, and holding its hand throughout.
Super. Maria, to answer your question, yes, you do need the desktop app to get Cowork. And Heather's asking, would you suggest making a skill in Claude to do this?
Heather, excellent question. Appreciate that one. So similar to Jessica's question, like this seems like useful stuff, and like it looks like you did some work here, right? Shouldn't I save that and reuse it? Yeah, you very much can do that. So there's different ways you can save and share prompts across platforms. In Claude, they have this concept of skills. And in skills, you can very much make sort of saving the ability to do something. And that skill might include the prompt. It might include those color codes and the fonts. It might include this template. It might include 5 templates, right? So a skill, it's kind of like a prompt, but you can include other assets with it. And that's exactly what we do at wordpower. So if I go in here to our skills, I have different skills that we've built for different things. And I have a PowerPoint presentation skill down here that talks about, that includes our brand colors, guidelines on our formats that we want included, kind of all of that built right here into a skill. So as like a manager, I can distribute that across my team. I can have new hires immediately on day 1 can make branded PowerPoints just by calling the skill within Claude. So if you're really nerding out at all, we'll be back in a month. We're actually, our next session, our next Power Up session, we're going to zoom in on Cowork specifically because we think it is a pretty special tool.
Yes, watch this space. We'll come back to talk more about Cowork and skills. Jeremy's asking, in your opinion, is it worth migrating all ChatGPT historicals into Claude versus starting from scratch?
Is it worth migrating historicals? Oh yeah, anytime you're going platform to platform, for sure. And Claude actually has gone out of their way to make it easy to do this. So Claude in Q1 of this year just saw insane adoption and migration away from ChatGPT. They actually built a little prompt that you drop into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm going to another platform. What do you know about me? And get your memory and then bring that to Claude and kind of populate your memory in Claude. So yeah, we're big fans of both platforms. Really, we have switched to Claude at WordPower, and we totally bring memory from platform to platform. Okay,
super. We better move on in the interest of
I'm thinking
time.
that too, yes.
But thanks for all the great questions in chat. Would love to hear in chat how you got on. So if you created a good presentation you were happy with, write complete. If yours is still working, write still working. If it failed for any reason, write failed. Let us know what platform you were using and where it failed. It'd be really interesting to see. A couple of little tips for getting the final last mile, getting the deck over the line. Here's some prompts that you might want to consider. So one thing we often do is rather than, you want to make adjustments across 10 different slides, rather than writing all that in a prompt and re-uploading the file, you can actually go through the PowerPoint and add in the speaker notes at Claude, change this font, move this around, change this context, etc. Write that in every speaker note, upload the file, and then ask Claude to review the speaker notes and action when it's been added into those notes. Creating custom icons is super powerful. Upload a few that you like and ask it for more in that style. And when it's doing well with the layouts, but you want a few new ones, upload a new slide template, or upload a drawing or a quick sketch and say, please, can I have a slide layout like this? And it'll go ahead and make you a new template. But Tom, can you bring us home? While you do that, I'm going to put a quick survey in the chat. Would love to know what you thought of this free session, if you found it useful. If you would like more, if we could have done anything differently, please let us know in that form. We really value your feedback and time. Thank you. Chris, glad to hear it's working for you as well. But Tom, talk us through the best practices that we covered today.
Yes, four key pieces, all equally important. And when we get frustration about people failing to get the results they want, they're usually just missing one of these key steps. So the first one is you got to break the process into steps and choose the right point of entry. We today focused on building that first draft. In another presentation, you might still need to do a lot of web research. Maybe you haven't put together an outline and started to put your thoughts down, right? So you got to pick the right point of entry, and you likely want to do one at a time, as boring as that sounds, right? You might want to complete your research, then complete your outline, and then build your presentation. That said, you need the right tool to do that, and you might even need multiple tools. So we think Claude and Manus are the best at editing a template. You can really get creative with building out new slides and things like that. Across the board, go pro. Use a pro model, use that thinking model. You're generally going to get better results. And for image generation, which we didn't double click into today, Gemini and ChatGPT are definitely going to be your two best tools for that. Manus is also good at that. We showed a pretty detailed prompt. In that we included hex codes for the colors, we included fonts and design specs. That's something that you want to save. You want to reuse that in the future. So don't sleep on your prompts. And then lastly, the template. And we talked about using a populated template that already has some information in it to guide the AI and how you like to speak. Use a PowerPoint file. Don't try and give it Google Slides. And start with your existing layouts. You can always riff on it and add more custom layouts later.
Super, thank you. We are at time. If you haven't done already, please sign up for the Power Up on the landing page. There is the URL. It'll still be talking about today's session, but we will email everyone about the next one, where we will be going a bit deeper on Claude Cowork. We're not employed by them, honestly. We are just super impressed with how powerful a platform it is. So we'll be helping folks get set up and find out what it can do and what it's super strong at. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Me and Tom are going to stay on for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, you're very welcome to stay. But I'm going to stop the recording now, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for playing along today.